Okay, well, let's get started. We've just got an hour together, haven't we? So let's not waste any of our time. Well, really huge welcome to you all, and thank you so much for joining us. Just a couple of housekeeping. We're on a meeting function, which means that we can see everybody and hear everybody. So you're really welcome to pop your cameras on, give me a wave if you want me to pause at any point and ask a question. Similarly, if you want to pop a question in the chat box, then we'll make sure that either we'll answer it now or stay on the call and answer it afterwards. So please do use all of the interactive functions of Zoom. My name's Gemma Stacey. Just in case I don't know you, I've not had a chance to meet you before. I'm the director of the Florence Nightingale Foundation Academy, and I look after all of our education, our policy and our research work, which is growing in breadth and reach on a feels like weekly basis. And today's event is really an indication of that. It's so wonderful to see so many of you here interested in applying for an F&F scholarship. It's the thing that we're known for. The scholarships are our flagship programme, and you're probably aware from either colleagues that have undertaken a scholarship or social media or other media outlets that it's described by the majority, in fact, if not all, as a profound development experience, and that's both personally but also professionally as well. So we're really proud of our scholarships, incredibly competitive, very prestigious, and today's session is all about helping you to put yourself in the best position to be successful in your application. And I'm joined today by Lucy Brown, who is my Deputy Director of Academy. Lucy, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, of course. Thank you for the opportunity to meet you all. And it's an absolute pleasure to work with Gemma and the team. I've been in post almost 3 months now. And I must say, I think I've landed the best job. I was a previous scholar 5 years ago, so I was fortunate enough to get a place on the Aspiring Nurse Director programme. So I'm here to support Gemma today with any questions you may have, and really looking forward to the presentation ahead. Thanks, Gemma.
Brilliant. Thank you, Lucy. So lots of the information I'll share with you today is available on the website. We'll record this session as well and send it back out to you. But there are some added extras, some little nuggets of information that is exclusive to you as our members of the Academy. So top secret stuff for you to take note of. So I'm going to cover with you this morning quite briefly so that we do have some opportunities for questions, and please feel free to pop your questions in the chat box as we go through. I'll do my presentation and then we'll answer them at the end. But we're going to talk about what the application requirements are, how you might interpret the questions that we're asking, and also how myself and Lucy and other team members who are involved in the shortlisting may interpret your answers. Oops, moving itself along. Some common mistakes that we see regularly when it comes to the F&F applications, and really how you can make your application stand out. And then exclusive information to you if you are one of the top 35% of the applicants that are shortlisted to come to interview. What can you expect, and how can you prepare to be a successful candidate at interview as well? So let's start off with the application itself. So it is an online application. It's open at the moment and it will close on the 20th of October. So you have a whole month to work on your application. You do need a letter of support in your application from a senior sponsor in your organisation. And that person is there to say, yes, you can attend the days. So it's about the days to attend the programme, but also that you'll be supported to make the most out of the opportunity. And by that, what we mean is that you will undertake, whilst you're with us in your scholarship year, a quality improvement project. And what we're looking for is assurance from your employer that you will have the support to undertake that project. And that might well be in terms of time and resource as well. So that's important. You will also need to show that you are registered with the NMC. So all of our scholars are open to nurses, registered nurses and midwives. I'm not sure why my presentation's moving itself. And also that you can give us your employer details and the details of your finance department. And the reason for that is because for the majority of people applying, we will be looking for a contribution to the cost of the scholarship from your employer of £1,000. And the reason why we do that is because that really does enable you to have that investment from your employer and that sponsorship in real terms. They've invested in you from a financial perspective. You also will answer some questions as you would expect in an application form, and I'll go through with you in just a moment what they are. And just to say that this particular application, programme, the scholarship programme, is for band 7s and above, or equivalent if you work in a different sector where the banding isn't there. So there are other programmes that we run, there are other leadership programmes that we run that are for other bands from nursing associates right the way through, but these particular opportunities are for band 7s and above. I've just spotted a wave, and it's your name on here is Cruz Joe, is that right?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, my name's Joanne Cruz. I'm one of the advanced practitioners for the breast surgery team. You mentioned about the registration. So I actually qualified as an ODP, not a nurse. So would that mean that I'm not applicable to apply for the course?
On this occasion it is, Joe, unfortunately. So we do have lots of programmes that are available to all AHPs, and there are equivalent programmes, so not these scholarships but other scholarships that are available, but these ones are particularly for nurses and midwives.
Okay, I think I might log off then.
Okay.
Sorry.
Thank you, Joe.
Hey.
Okay, so moving us on. So this is the questions that you'll be asked, and just as a heads up, these are the kinds of pointers to offer you as you're pulling together your questions. It's 250 word answer, so there are 4 questions. It's not an onerous application form, but sometimes being able to say what you need to say in a smaller amount of words is equally as challenging. So I would really encourage you to give yourself time to put some thought into constructing your answers so you can get the most salient information across there. One of the bits of advice that I've had in terms of my writing is there's too much fluff and there's too much waffle, and it's all waste of words. So think about, wherever possible, take out your fluff and your waffle, and that'll get you the answers that you need. So first of all, the question is about you, your role, and the team that you work in. So thinking particularly, this is a leadership scholarship. So when you're talking about your role and your team, think about your leadership responsibilities within your role and how you lead your team. So thinking about those strategic responsibilities, the number and the breadth of influence you have in terms of a team that you work alongside. And also you might want to include those kind of budgetary bits of information as well, just to show the breadth of the work that you're undertaking. Now, this could be at a local level, within a team, within a community trust, hospital trust, care home, whatever. It could be in a regional role, it could be in a national role. So we have scholarships for all of those different levels and whatever stage you're at within your leadership journey. The key features of your approach to leadership, so what kind of a leader you are, and try to use some practice examples of that. So try and really bring it to life with your own examples, so it doesn't feel like something that's been lifted from a textbook around leadership theory. Also, what your goals are, your aspirations, what are you hoping to achieve in the short term, the medium term, and the long term, and how you think your F&F scholarship will actually enable you to achieve those things. So one of the things that I picked up frequently in our last round of recruitment was it wasn't clear how the F&F scholarship was going to actually have an impact here. Quite often people were talking about their current role and projects that they were undertaking as part of that. And it was kind of like, well, that's your job, that's what you will be doing. What else will the F&F scholarship enable you to achieve here? So making sure that we can see the added value of the scholarship. And we also ask you to outline the quality improvement project that you'll be undertaking. you need to think about how to justify that project. So what's the problem that you're hoping to address? Think about it from its local implementation, also its regional and its national relevance as well. How does this plug in to the bigger picture? And how will you know it's made a difference? How are you going to measure the impact? What difference will it actually make? So if you're thinking about the people that are reading your application, as F&F members of staff, we're thinking about, one, how do we protect the quality of the F&F scholarship as our flagship programme? And then also, if we're thinking about our sponsors, how will we demonstrate to them the value for money? How will we be able to show to them, by investing in this individual, you will have this kind of an impact, there will be this level of return on that. So if you remember those things, that there are priorities. We're thinking about the quality, and we're thinking about the impact. So in other words, who are you? How do you lead? What difference do you want to make? And really importantly, how will this scholarship enable you to make this difference? So some top tips. Start now. Thinking about, if you want, it's an electronic form and you can go to it, complete, save it and go back to it. So it's really important to give yourself plenty of time to think it through. Use the full word limit as well, the 250 words per question. It's really important to think about how you can really demonstrate to us the reason why you are the right person for this opportunity. Think about the structure of an articulation of your answers as well. Think about how you can put together the best argument for your case, for it to be you. And also think about how you can grab the attention of those that are shortlisting. So how will you make that first sentence in that first answer to the first question really grab the attention of the people that are going to be reading hundreds and hundreds of applications, so yours really stands out? My best advice to you is to make this as personal as possible. Share your own values, your motivation, where you've had some moments of pride that have really driven you to want to apply for this opportunity. So lots and lots of examples, bring it to life. One of the things that I would say is there are lots and lots of applications that feel very similar, feel very generic. So think about your individual position as a uniqueness or midwife in a particular role with a particular history, a particular set of values, motivations to do this, and why that's driving you. Be really specific about the impact of the scholarship, as I mentioned before, and think about almost in 18 months' time, if we were to be celebrating you as an alumni of the F&F, what would be the story we would be telling? So think about you in the future, and let us think about what that impact's going to be. And another tip is to remember we exist as an organisation to continue Florence's legacy. So what would Florence say about you, and what would she say about the project that you're hoping to implement? So bring it back to Florence wherever you can. So some exclusive information just for you. If you are one of the people that have been shortlisted, and the shortlisting is done by the internal F&F team, I will read every single one of these applications, and then other members of the team will shortlist from a long list of applicants. So if you made it to interview, you are in the top 35% of those applications. So first of all, huge well done. And if you don't make it past that application point, do please have another go. Often we have to think about the competition, but also that this is a limited opportunity. There'll be around 80 scholars per year. So when you think about the volume of applications we're likely to get, and that results in 80 people being selected, really do get a sense of, if you've made it to interview, you've done a really great job. So the people on the interview panel will include 2 people from F&F. So it'll be myself or Greta Westwood, the CEO, and then another member of the academy team. So Lucy will be on the panel, and also our head of leadership programs will be, and scholarships will also be on the panels. And also the scholarship funder. So we'll invite the people that are paying for the scholarships to help us select as well. So if you think of myself and Lucy as like custodians of the scholarship, we're wanting to protect that quality and that prestige that's associated with these scholarships. And the funders are thinking about what's going to be the impact, what's going to be the most, who's going to make the most of this opportunities, where will my funds go and what difference will it make? And it is a group interview format. So it's quite an unusual way to interview, but I've been involved for the last 2 years and it works really, really brilliantly. So you will be asked to give a 5-minute presentation on your quality improvement project. And my best advice for that is to really prepare and practice that presentation. 5 minutes isn't very long at all. And we will stop you at the end of the 5 minutes. So if you want to get that information in, make sure that you've practiced it. And you can also tell people that haven't, the people that turn up to interview and just start talking off the cuff about their projects. It really stands out. So make sure that you have practiced and prepared for that opportunity. You'll then be asked questions for another 5 minutes from the fellow candidates. So it won't be the interview panel that are asking your questions. It will be you guys that will be asking each other questions. And myself and the rest of the interview panel will sit back and just observe that process. So we'll chair it, but we'll observe it. And if you think about the whole of that group interview is being judged. So not only are we judging your presentation, but we're also judging how you ask each other questions. How do you support other people on your interview group to do their very best? And the reason why we do this is because the cohort learning and the networking aspect of the F&F scholarship is central to the experience. So we want to know that the people that are coming onto the scholarships are there to support each other and really build each other up to do their very best. So when it comes to the criteria, again, keep that word impact in your mind. That's right at the forefront of your head. What difference is this going to make to you? So really be able to think about how you can get that across. What difference will it make to your local practice? And again, that's whatever's relevant to you, whether that's your local practice in your healthcare delivery environment, or whether you are a national leader and it's about your local practice within that national delivery team. Thinking about the team, think about the national agenda, as I mentioned before. Whatever you're doing, think about how it plugs into maybe the NHS People Plan, for example, or the IPC best practice guidelines. Whatever it is that's relevant, make sure that you plug it into that national profile. And also the evidence base as well. So we want to know that when you're identifying your particular problem, this is not just based on your opinion, that you're drawing this from an understanding of what's already known about that topic. Right, so that's all the information I've got for you. Let me just stop sharing. So I think Lucy's going to pull some questions out for the chat box. If you've got others, then please enter them in and we'll do our best to get through them in the next 40 minutes that we've got left.
Great, Gemma, there's a couple of questions that have come through. One we've got is Sue's actually a band 6 and says, is there any other opportunities she can apply for?
Yes, so there are lots of programmes that are targeted at nursing associates bands 5, 6 and 7s as well. They tend to be our commissioned leadership programmes and they're usually 6 months in length. They contain a lot of the same content as the scholarship core programme. They are just targeted in a slightly different way. So all of the leadership programmes that are currently live are being advertised on our website. And we when I say commissioned leadership programmes, they're basically bespoke programmes in response to a problem that somebody has identified. So we're working at the moment with the East of England, Health Education England, East of England's region, and they've targeted, they want to really invest in their newly registered nurses. They want to be developing the pipeline for their aspiring nurse directors, and they want to be promoting the career trajectory of nurses and midwives from ethnic minorities. So we've developed 3 programmes for nurses and midwives from those particular backgrounds and demographics to apply. So my best advice is just keep an eye on the website, in the members newsletter as well. Any new programs are always advertised in there. So that's the place to find the information.
Thanks, Gemma, that's great. And a couple of questions along those themes as well. When's the expected interview dates and where would they be held?
So they're virtual. So we undertake the interviews on Zoom. So it'll be a similar kind of platform to this. There'll be up to 10 people there on your interview panel, in your interview group, and up to 4 people there on the panel as well. And okay, so timelines wise, so we're open for advert until the 20th of October. And then we've got a 3-week window for shortlisting. And following on from that, you would be notified about your interview date. And the interview themselves go on for about an hour and a half. So you would be given those details as to how much time to protect as well.
Thanks, Gemma, that's great. Good question from Rachel Appleby, and something I remember asking as well a few years ago. Can the quality improvement project be something that you're already working on within role, or does it have to be something new?
No, it absolutely can be something that you're currently working on. And often we find, Rachel, that it's even better if it is, because you've got that organisational support and investment. The only thing I would say is make it really clear why the F&F scholarship will benefit that programme of work. So if it was going to happen anyway without the scholarship, then the funders particularly will be thinking, well, why would we offer this additional investment? So just really make it clear what the added benefit of the scholarship would be to the project.
Thanks, Gemma. Good question from April here. Are the scholarships open to nurses and midwives who work in the independent and private sector?
Yes, they are. So open to all. And the only proviso I would say is that our funding, lots of our funding does come from health education regions. So what sometimes can happen is that there are more places available to be offered to those that work within the NHS for that reason. But we do have a number of scholarships that are protected for nurses and midwives working in social care and in the independent sector as well.
Great, thanks, Gemma. Lucy Martin's asked about her quality improvement project. It's quite long term. So would you be happy with a sequential plan?
Yes. So again, really important to think about how you present that in your 5 minutes. So what aspect of that longer term quality improvement project would be your focus during the scholarship year, and how would you be able to demonstrate that impact? So it doesn't have to have come to completion, but we do need to be able to demonstrate that it's had some kind of an influence. Again, looking at that, being able to say to our scholars, this is the difference that the funding made. So that's absolutely fine. And quite a few actually of our scholars do have projects that they report on at the end of their scholarship year with plans for how they're going to roll them out more widely. So maybe they've done the pilot phase and then they look at how they're going to roll it out more widely moving forwards.
Great, thanks, Gemma. Just a question from me, really, just to help the guys on the call. If they are successful with a scholarship, what are the core components of the programme? So it might be exciting for them to hear about.
Yeah, absolutely. So there are 2 aspects of the scholarship programme. There's a core programme that the F&F provide, and that's where you will work in groups of people that are at a similar career point to you, so working in a similar kind of point in their career development. And you'll spend some time first of all with the King's Fund, and they will do some individual assessments with you, some psychometrics, and then some feedback and coaching around that. So you do that individually, and then you come together as a group, and they work with you, the King's Fund work with you over 2 days on your presence, your understanding your sphere of authority, how you can start to have the kind of influence that you want to have as a leader at whatever point you are in your career trajectory. So they work with you really intentionally around that area. A lot of that work's about your own self-awareness, developing your emotional intelligence. There definitely isn't there's kind of a sense of we'll teach you how to do it, because we acknowledge that you guys are already brilliant when you come to us. Sometimes you don't have the confidence in your brilliance, so a lot of the work's around that. And another aspect of that work is around how can you show others about your knowledge and your expertise and really be heard. So that's the work we do with the King's Fund. And then you also spend 3 days with RADA, the Royal Academy of Dramatic Arts, and that's 3 days. It's residential, so you'll stay over for those 3 days, and it's face to face, and you work in small groups of no more than 10. And again, it's with others that are at a similar point in their career trajectory to you. And they work with you all about how you present yourself to have the maximum impact. So how you manage that inner critic that we all have, so that you can really portray yourself with the confidence and gravitas that enables you to really command the audience that you want to influence. And they do lots of in-depth and very individualized work around that, helping you to think about what your individual communication challenges might be and how you can learn some strategies to manage that. So that's the core programme. And at the end of the scholarship year, we bring you all together and we celebrate everything that you've achieved in a big event. So that's brilliant. And then you also get a budget yourself that you can choose a bespoke opportunity. You can do really whatever you would like to develop yourself as a leader. We have people do all sorts of things. Some people go off to Disney and go to the Disney Institute of Leadership. We have people that go to the King's Fund to undertake a specific leadership programme, maybe around systems leadership, for example, or a particular programme that's about women in leadership. So totally unique to you. We just give you some options that we know of people have valued before, and you can choose what you would like to do. And you're also matched up with a mentor as well from our really extensive network. So the great thing about F&F is once people have been scholars, they just really want to give back to the scholar community. So we have no problem identifying fabulous mentors for each of our scholarship years. So you're given a mentor right at the beginning of the journey. They'll help you select what you want to spend that budget, your own budget on, depending on what you've decided are your really specific development needs. And they'll also support you with your quality improvement projects as well. That's Did I remember great. Everything there, Lucy?
Yeah, you did. It was great. Just to add to that, I will say the RADA element of the scholarship was quite life-changing for me. That was a pivotal point. The whole scholarship was incredible and changed my outlook and confidence, as you touched on, Gemma. But the RADA was phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. So it's really great to work in partnership with them and the King's Fund now as well. Great. Good stuff. Sounds fab. Thanks, Sharon. Great stuff. There's another question. Will the slides be shared, Gemma? Yeah.
Yes. So we'll record this presentation and send it out to you alongside and with the slides as well. So you can refer back to those. And similarly, if you have any follow-up questions, then you can drop us a line at the Academy and we'll do our best to answer those for you as well. So no, we want to give you as much information as possible. It's a very transparent process so that you can position yourself as well as you can. Just probably another thing to mention, what we do ask of all of our scholars is to produce some kind of an output at the end of the scholarship year. And that might be an abstract for a conference, it might be a blog, it could be an article in the Nursing Times or the Nursing Standard or a peer review article. So something that's kind of a tangible output from as a result of either the impact of your project or the impact of the learning in relation to your yourself and your own development. So that's there's no assessment to the scholarships, and nothing's marked and no credits attached to it, but there is that expectation that you create some kind of a published output at the end, again to show the impact of the work that you've done.
A few more questions are coming through now, Gemma.
Yeah.
I can answer this one if you're happy for me to.
Yeah, go for it.
Do we have to be members of the Royal College of Nursing? No, you don't. No. And Kerry O'Reilly's just asked, how do we submit the application? How do we go about this? So I think there's a link that we can share with you if that's helpful, and it's in the presentation. So then if you
so it's an online application. It's all on the website, and all of the information that I've shared with you today is there as well. And it's literally a click a button, and the application form's there. The other thing that's on there as well is some information about the digital scholarship. So some of you might be interested in specifically applying to be a digital scholar. And those of you that have got an interest or a role that has a particular digital focus to it, or you're aspiring to go down that career pathway, there are some specific scholarships that include some time with an organisation called Chime, and they are sort of international leaders in developing digital health leaders, and they put on a specific academy for us, a 3-day academy, and our digital scholars will spend some of their budget on attending that 3-day academy. So for those of you that are interested, or if you're an aspiring or a current CNIO, that pathway is particularly it's really excellent. And the digital scholars, now we've run this for the last 2 years, they're really creating an amazing community of practice, and really they are coming together to show how their national innovation projects, their regional innovation projects can feed into that national consistency that we absolutely need in this agenda.
Thanks, Gemma, that's great. I wanted to make one point that I only learnt this last week, and I wanted to share it with you all, and I thought it would give you a bit of inspiration, is that Greta, our chief exec, Greta Westwood, that most of you probably know, famously applied for the scholarships 3 times. Isn't that right, Gemma? She only told us last week, and I thought that might give you some incentive that if you have applied previously and not been successful, keep going, because Greta's a real, it shows that drive and ambition that you really want it and you want to grasp the opportunities available to you. So I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. And Greta would tell that story of getting the feedback that she just wasn't quite ready for it when she did apply, and she was given some advice as to what she needed to do to get in a better and stronger position to apply the next time, and she did what she was advised to do, and really focused on wanting this opportunity. So yes, absolutely, keep going. That persistence is really important. And we did last year, we had enough funding to offer over 100 scholarships, but we offered the scholarships to the people that really showed us the impact it was going to have, and there were 80 scholars last year. So we're not driven by the funding, we're driven really by the quality of the application. So do bear that in mind as well. And we're very protective of these scholarships, so that we really want people to get the most of it when they do it with us.
Thanks, Gemma. Another question has come through from Sharon Williams. Does the quality improvement project have to be budget based and financial improvement?
No, definitely not. Definitely not. It can be, Sharon, it can be that's an impact measure, that if there's been some kind of cost saving, but it's definitely not a requirement. One of the best, I think, improvement projects we had last year was about a mental health support network that was set up for nurses and midwives from an ethnic minority. And the impact of that has not been in any way financial, but it has been so significant in terms of well-being, and I guess in some ways you could say potentially retention has a financial implication, but it's been about the people, completely about the people. So no, that's not a criteria.
Right, I think that's all the questions come through. Feel free to pop anything in the chat box if you wanted to ask any questions.
I was just reflecting, Lucy, on, we had a couple of our current scholars present to our board meeting last week, and they both said something that I thought, I need to mention that when I see you guys today, that they had put this off for a couple of years thinking I'm not good enough to go for this, and didn't have the confidence to put themselves forward, almost sort of put people who previously got scholarships on a pedestal and thought that they weren't on a par with those individuals. And both saying now, I didn't realise, I really wished that I'd have understood how I am good enough and I'd have gone for it sooner. So even though, you know, this is a competitive process, and as I said before, we really do want to see that people will come and make the absolute most of it. It's not elitist in any way. This is definitely about spotting those nurses and midwives who have got the drive and the motivation and really do have the talent and want to progress and want to further themselves and will make the most out of the opportunity. It's not about being in a certain role or having certain demographics. It's not about those things. It's really about looking for people who are just going to grab hold of the opportunity and make the best of it.
Thanks, Gemma. And I remember when I was accepted, I thought there'd been an administration error. I thought another Lucy Brown had missed out. So there you go. But the scholarship did certainly improve my confidence. So just thought I'd share that with you too. Great, thank you. I don't think there's any more questions coming through.
I'm just trying to think if there's any little more nuggets of insights that I can give you.
Yeah, I'm just thinking from my interview, I remember being so nervous. And I remember it was Liz Robb and Jackie Bentley interviewed me, and I remember being in awe of these ladies, thinking, how on earth am I sat in front of these, and they were so welcoming. What they really took away from my interview is that I came with outcomes from my quality improvement project. They were really impressed and said, "Oh, you've worked this through," and I thought, well, I needed to demonstrate the impact and value my project was going to give. So that's probably a bit of a nugget advice there that I give to you. And they really liked the feedback I got from interviews, that I had that real drive. And they said I'd had quite an interesting career journey because I've grasped the opportunities that have been presented to me, and I think they like that too. So you show that drive and ambition. That's what really got me through the interview process anyway. I'd share that little nugget with you. That's
absolutely. And if you know of others as well that have been through the process, there are often other F&F scholars in your environment, it's always worth having a conversation with them. Ask them perhaps to be a bit of a critical friend and have a look over your application as well. So get some other eyes and perspectives on that. It's always worth doing that. I've just seen there's a question from Rachel about who to liaise with around the application. If you want to email the academy, I'll ask either Lucy or Adam could pop the email address into the chat box there. If you do have any questions, then yeah, just absolutely drop us a line. If you're having any challenges with the form or queries around it, please do that. I think one of the other things I do remember from shortlisting last year. So bearing in mind when we were recruiting last year, gosh, can think about where we were last year, really at the peak of the pandemic, and the pressures were so significant. We didn't really know whether people would find the headspace to think about their professional development at that time. The quality of the applications were fantastic. You know, we absolutely could have interviewed every single one of them. So it was really important to be able to find that distinction between them and those that stood out. And there was quite a few that did do that kind of very generic statements that could have been written by anybody really, or even lifted out of an article or a textbook. And whereas, you know, that could have been completely valid, it didn't give us a sense of that person. So my biggest advice really is really to bring yourself into your application so we can really understand what it means to you. And that will mean it'll stand out. That will make it different.
Just to add to that, I guess, is obviously supporting with viewing. It's about that personal development. What is your why? What is your purpose? You know, why do you want the scholarship? And if you can demonstrate that in the application, that'll go a long way.
Yes.
We've just had another question come through from Sarah. Apologies if I said your name incorrectly. Do you look to see references in the application?
So no, as in references to academic text, not necessarily.
That's how I've read it. Yeah, not
necessarily. So sometimes people do that, particularly if they've been influenced by a particular piece of evidence or policy or theory. and they can show how that's really impacted on them personally. People do bring in some references, but I would think about how you use your 250 words in that way. So if you're including big quotes from other people, that's their words, they're not yours. So I would say that's probably a waste of words for this particular application. If you were meaning a reference, that's the supporting statement from your sponsor in your organisation. So somebody that can really say you've got permission to do this and we're fully behind you. That's what we're looking for there.
The question just popped in. Just to reiterate what we spoke about a little bit, when must the applications be in? So when's the deadline, and how many words?
So it's the 20th of October is the deadline, and we won't accept applications after that. So that will actually absolutely be our cut-off point. And so there are 4 questions, and each question has a 250 word limit to it. So altogether it's 1,000 words. And then obviously all the demographic information that we have to collect from you as well.
Great. Any more questions?
Any more questions?
Hi, it's Rachel here.
Hi, Rachel.
Rachel.
Hi, yeah, I just wanted to, I'm looking at the application form as we speak, just to check whether I've got any questions. And I can see in part 3, it's got the project proposal. Is that the part that's the 250 words with the 4 questions? Because I can see there's specifically 4 questions there.
We've just broken that down, Rachel. So
okay.
Yeah, so we've broken it down. So there's some headings that will help you guide through your project. So thinking about your timescales and your methods and those kinds of things. And each one of those has been set at 250 words, but all in all, it should be around 250 words to talk about your project.
Brilliant, that's great. It's just obviously you can't move on to the next page to see what the next questions are whilst and you can only save at certain points. So
yes, you save at the end of each one. So if you so those questions that I've gone through with you, if you prepare your answers for those, and then you can put those in, and once you've saved each answer to each question, you can revert back between the different pages. Might just be worth us saying then a huge good luck. Go for it, absolutely go for it. And honestly, the experience itself is phenomenal. The people you will meet and the network you will build is beyond anything that you can imagine. And even if you're at a point in your career where you think, oh, I've been on loads of leadership programs before, I can't think of anything else that they could possibly teach me. That the beauty of the F&F scholarship is it's all about you and your personal development. So wherever you are at in your career journey, it will stretch you, it'll challenge you, and it'll really push you to that next level. And you might not realize things about yourself until you've done this. It will really uncover some of those strengths that perhaps have either been things that you've not invested in, or things that have been undermined along the way. It really does help you celebrate everything that you have to offer. So please do have a go.
What's really, just to add to that, really, just to put it into context, the power of the network is phenomenal, and I couldn't believe the experiences I got on the back of the scholarship. And I'm still in contact with my cohort now. We've got a WhatsApp group, and if we need a policy or we need to share something, particularly through the pandemic, we've all been back on the front line. We've all been supporting one another, and it's something I know will be lifelong friends. So I cannot reiterate how powerful that is. And then secondary to that is the alumni. You become part of the F&F alumni, which again is a phenomenal network. And it's a real privilege to kind of stand alongside colleagues and share experiences. So I cannot tell you how valuable it is. Such a valuable experience.
Thanks, Lucy. You heard it from personal experience there. Wonderful. Well, keep in touch with us, guys. We look forward to reading your applications. Give us a shout if there's anything we can help with at all.